All right. So rule number 2 is receive yourself, right? Now, you guys have done a lot of work on this already, right? Because we covered this in depth in training number 2. And I love pulling up I was going to pull up all the stories that have been on the Facebook group, but then I realized I might be sharing people's private information and that's not okay. But I'm going to share a couple of stories I saw out there. Matt had posted that he allowed himself to access, the need, the desire for cleaner that seemed kind of, lazy. How could he not clean his own place, right? And then he felt like on top of the world once it was done. And he also started to understand a much deeper truth about himself. Someone else mentioned that, they had agreed to the irresponsible homework. And then her husband gave her money and said, just spend it how you want to, spend it frivolously, just have fun with it. And I think this is the big shift that I like people to see when we talk about the 2 rejected selves we talked about in training number 2, which is the lazy self and the irresponsible self. Now, those are 2 selves I would say many people experience. But what you will find as you go deeper with this work, as Matt mentioned, is I accessed a rejected self I didn't even know was there. Now that's those are more nuanced selves. Those are specific to your life and your experience. And as you start to integrate each of these selves, what starts to happen is a greater sense of wholeness fills you. You're feeling that you're not alone on the planet starts to happen because you didn't realize a piece of your loneliness was actually you leaving you behind. Isn't that amazing? So good. Tammy says, I just had a girl take me golfing and insisted she pay and paid me so many compliments. It does feel good. I love it. Tears, I'm there right now. So much good is coming in, but it's attached to many challenges, right? And so it's understanding that, at first, when you hear the receiving method, right, this is a comment that's very typical is I'm wide open. But as you get to start to understand what there is to receive and how much we resist, you realize the importance of going slow and having a process and being kind and gentle to ourselves. And that's the piece of receiving ourselves, right? When we receive, I need a break. I'm overwhelmed. I can't do all of this. These are all truths that as we receive them, in fact, someone put a comment and said, well, I don't know how I can be lazy because I feel like I'm lazy too much and then things don't get done and there's not enough time in the day. Here's the thing. If there's not enough time in the day, it means that some things have to come off your to-do list. Tammy saying, I understand why the rejected self rule is the one that's the 80-20. So amazing. It is. Now, here's the thing, though. As we learn to receive ourselves, right? So then we receive the outer world. We receive ourselves in the experience of the outer world. That gives us the information, right? And then that's where we can start to really understand what it is to do next. And the next rule is the only rule that involves doing, right? That involves more action taking specifically to remove resistance. So as we move through the receiving school, what I find is that when we get to this rule, when we're working on this rule, it's always a relief for people, right? Because there's been all this energetic work and things are moving. And as humans, we crave putting our hands on things and touching things, right? And that's where we go with the next rule, which is clear space to make space, or declutter to make space. And what that means is that at any given moment in time, objects around you are holding energy, and it's energy that's receptive, or it's energy that's resistant, right? So there's at each moment of every day, your physical space has the ability to support you and support receiving, or it has the ability to block you. Now, how do you decide what to get rid of, right? So, and that is the important thing, is you want to clear things away. So we want to talk about why we keep things. A lot of the times we keep things for the same reason we reject ourselves. Crazy. It's because we want approval of others. So we keep things that were given to us, right? Or we have a mentality handed down through our ancestors that says you can't waste. This is particularly alive for people who have family members, especially ones that were alive while you were alive, that lived through some kind of depression or real economic difficulty. So don't waste, right? And then the third is that trusting that there will actually be what you need when you need it. So what that looks like is you have items that people gave to you and you haven't released them because you're afraid that their feelings will be hurt, right? Or that you're doing something wrong in doing that. Or you might be holding on to something because it's still got value. And I told stories in the group this morning, but if you didn't hear them, I've recently given away our wedding china, and I gave away my son's bed when we were replacing it. But in both those circumstances, things I just talked about came up. With the wedding china, it was that other people gifted us. But the thing is, we're not using it, and it can go to a good home. And in the case of my son's bed, he needs a new bed, even though I just bought him this one last year, but he's outgrown it because he's growing very quick and he's coming on 6 feet tall. And but it was only a year old, right? But now it's gone to a new family. It's going to a refugee family coming into our community. And so it's being reused. But there was a moment of resistance for me, that there was still value in this, that this would be wasted, right? And then that third one, which is, will there be something there for me when I need it? I see that with people. Actually, when I originally shared that I was going to be giving away my china, a family member said to me, "What? You're giving away the china? Like, what if you want it someday?" Okay, but if I want it someday, then I will get new china, right? But it's been sitting in my cabinet for 20 years and I've used it once. And it's not meant to be in a cabinet. It's meant to be used. And so here's all the reason why we keep things in our home. And let me tell you something. As I released that china, magic started to happen in so many forms. I can't even put words to it. But a couple of things that happened is, one, my husband booked us a trip to go away right after that. And it's funny because the china is, almost like a symbol of our marriage, right? The china that you're given as you enter into this new life together. And yet releasing it opened us up, or opened my husband up, to spontaneously booking a trip for us to have connection, because that's really what our marriage is about. And me owning that and saying, no, this is us, that the way I entertain is not with china, right? I don't entertain that way. And so, at the same time, a group of friends all spontaneously agreed to get together, right? And so now I'm having all these experiences that opened up just by releasing something that was in the way. Now, I want to share a story with you of one of our receiving school members who did something really, really powerful in her releasing. And magic happened. But before I get into her story, what I want to share with you is you can go slow with this particular step, right? You don't have to be releasing your wedding china or doing something that feels really like big and overwhelming. If you just take one moment and just look around, just look around the space that you're in right now, right? Just take a sweeping look and just see, is there something in that space that feels not ideal, right? That maybe there's pieces of paper that can be filed, right? You don't even have to get rid of things necessarily. Maybe it's just clearing them out of your view, clearing them out of your awareness. Or maybe you have a great place to start is maybe there's something in your closet that's just really worn out. And the only reason you're keeping it is there's this old message about not getting rid of something until it's lost all its like usability, right? Can you donate it and allow it to find new life somewhere else? You can start small, but the message or the story I'm about to share with you, Sherry's story, she started small. She led up to the place where she started to see really big shifts. So Sherry was in a place where she had years and years ago left a marriage. She had gotten divorced. And she still found that she was kind of caught up in lower forms of energy that had really come to her through that partnership that ended. And it was just a constant reminder that she was not supported in her partnership with her husband. And she said, I realized I could not step into my future looking at reminders of a time that caused me so much pain. And she very bravely got rid of furniture that was extremely expensive furniture. In fact, one piece during her marriage, she had been someone that remade furniture. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. And she even agreed to get rid of that one because she said, when I look at it, it gives me pain and I need a fresh start. Now, within, I'd say this was May, within a few months, she made a big announcement. One of the things she had been struggling with in her business was she felt alone. She didn't enjoy running her business by herself, and she really wanted to bring someone into her business that could support her, and she wasn't seeing it. And then out of the blue, she got a call from someone she respected a lot who asked her to join his business. And so this amazing partnership came, and she said she knows that choosing to move into her future and let go of things, even though it seemed like, as well as the fact that her she's descendants from Holocaust survivors, and there was very much a feeling of like coming with nothing, right, to this country, and then always knowing, to keep things and treat things as good and respect them, right? And so letting go of all these things, especially the ones she had put her blood, sweat, and tears into, felt almost like a challenge. And yet, as she stepped into that challenge, that's what happened. Now, again, this is not necessarily where you want to start, although if you feel called to it. I will tell you, there's another person in the receiving school, Camille, and Camille is actually going to be in our group this week to share her story. She did something very similar. She had furniture from her divorce. She cleared it all out, and things started to get wildly, wildly different. All right. So now, as you're moving through the process, right, you're receiving the outer world, you're receiving yourself. And now, as you receive yourself, you're starting to realize there's things in your physical space that you can get rid of, that you can dispose of, you can donate, or maybe just clean up, right? Just cleaning things up can improve it. What comes next? Well, then once you start to do this, this is what brings you to a place where you start to see that the abundance is really flowing in. Things are getting really exciting. And that's when we can move to rule number 4, which is learning your language.